fixing Carl's M3. He has a leaking thermostat, which is right under the plenum here. So we're going to be replacing 4 O-rings. Here's the part number for the thermostat O-rings, and then also the thermostat itself. Here's the part number for that. And it looks like this. It has an O-ring as well that seals around, and this is the spring. So usually if your car is taking forever to heat up, you probably need to change the O-ring. So first thing we need to do is remove the air box along with the plenum. So let's get started on that. Let's take off these two 10mm bolts here. Comes off here. Leave that there for a moment. Take this off. The little Jubilee clips here on the bottom, there's 8 of them. They're hard to see, so I'm gonna put a light here, and now you can see right over there. So let's start by taking these off. The driver's side are easy, the passenger side is hard to get to. But just see how I position my body to get to this one. So I have to kind of find it, and then angle my head over, and then reach into it. You might have to remove this hose out of the way. Okay, got it. So the hard side is the passenger side because this is in the way, the coolant tank. You can remove this, but I don't want to right now. It's extra work. Okay, we got one more left, and then this is probably the hardest one because this is in the way. Okay, all 8 individual throttle bodies are unhooked. Now you can do this. Slowly kind of wiggle it out. Crack. Okay, so now that it's all loose, we gotta take this clip off. This is the air intake, air temperature sensor. Unplug that. You need to go underneath here, and then there's a hose under here that you need to unplug. You squeeze the tabs and pull it out. This is the one right here. So squeeze in and then pull it out. This flows. And then the last one is going to be right over here. This is the hardest one to get out. There we go. Okay, got it. Okay, so we've unhooked everything. Now we can just pop this out and then toss it into the ocean. Here are our individual throttle bodies, all 8 of them. There's your 2 throttle actuators. There's some coolant down there in the center of the V. Let me see if I can show. There you go. So right over there, see that blue stain? That's coolant that's been dripping from the thermostat hoses. These 2 hoses right here, they've been dripping and making a pool of coolant in the center of the V. And then it ends up going down to the rear of the engine on the bottom of the car. So I'll put some footage of the bottom rear end of the car. There's a lot of coolant that was just leaking there, and we thought it was something else, but it's actually the thermostat, and everything's just falling into that area. So check out that throttle actuator right over there. It's really corroded now. So at this point now, we're going to start opening the coolant system. Don't do it if the car is warm or hot because it can explode and burn you. But the car's been sitting now for a while, so I'm going to open this up and kind of let some air or some pressure escape. Here we go. Okay, this is going to start pouring out pretty quick here, so be ready. Yeah. So I'm going to let that pour out here. So right now it's just going to drip to the pan on the floor. I'm just going to let it go slowly. 10mm bolts right over here, and they are torqued to 7 foot-pounds of torque, so it's not too heavy. We're going to take those bolts out, and that's going to allow us to move this thermostat out. And I'm going to keep these connections on. We're just going to pull it out, replace the thermostat spring, the gaskets. Okay. Alright guys, so we've removed the 3 10mm bolts. Now we're going to pull kind of up and wiggle it out because there's a gasket seating it in place. And as soon as you do that, the coolant's going to start leaking. So here we go. So you can see right there, lots of coolant coming out. So I'm just going to lift this up and out. Okay, pull the thermostat out and kind of lifts up and over the fuel rail. There it is. Now you can see the water pump right there, and here's the spring right on the bottom right there. That's where the gasket is. And then the other O-rings, there's 4 of them, 2 right here, 1 here, 1 in here, and 1 in here, and 1 in there, and the other piece of it is still there. I'm going to pull that out later. This is the reason you buy 4 O-rings, is because these pieces here, you got to replace 4 of these O-rings. And this is what was leaking and causing his coolant issues. As you can see, these O-rings are really flat now. They're not really sealing anything. This one is pretty stubborn, this last one. Okay, broke. All 4 are out. Now, it's very important to clean all these surfaces so you don't get any leaks in the future. So I'm going to get a cleaning rag. Let's go ahead and clean all these. Okay, so we're going to pry this out. So I'm just going to wedge it and then just slowly work it out. You can see it moving already. There we go. Okay, here's the old thermostat out. Again, clean the mating surfaces inside. Let's get the new one. Let's hope it works. Go in, please. Okay, that look good to you guys? The seal? So this is what you want, a nice clean seal with nothing kind of pinched here. As you can see, it's a nice clean seal here, leak free. So now that that's in, we can put our O-rings on. We've got 4 of them. So the big difference here is these O-rings are actually circular and they actually stick out a little. The old O-ring he had was really flat and his fluid was just escaping through and leaking easily. These O-rings are going to do the trick. Okay, 2 more here to go. Go ahead and put some Vaseline lube on these O-rings so that they slide right in without any complication. It's going to be a little bit of a tight fit because these are fresh O-rings. They're thicker than before. So just slide them right in there. Okay, there we go. That's one. Do the same thing with the other side. Make sure, and I can't stress this enough, make sure this top hose is above the thermostat, because if it gets stuck on the bottom, you have to do this again. Here we go. Keep pushing in. Align the spring on the bottom into the water pump, and then push those 2 pieces into the 2 holes here. So here we go. Wiggle them in. Fresh O-rings means it's going to be a tight fit. There we go, it's in. Okay, now we need to line up our 3 10mm bolts right here and hope they thread in. You're going to tighten these to 7 or 8 foot-pounds of torque. Okay, take this overflow hose and then pop it back in to the thermostat. Okay, that's on. Alright, now we're going to go back up here. Don't forget to put your fuel rail back on, or down, because otherwise this fuel rail will leak. And this fuel rail down into position. Okay, that's good to go. Okay, so everything's on now. What we're going to do is put on our 10mm nuts for the wiring harness over here. Here's the plenum. What you want to do is line it up into the 8 individual throttle bodies. So kind of make sure you're in the right spot. And then what you want to do is plug in the back hose over here before you start tightening the bolts. So I'm going to take a light because I can't see. Okay, there we go. So this one, you're just gonna push or line it into position and push straight up. So wait until you hear a click. There you go. Okay, so that one's on. Now we're gonna hook up the one underneath the plenum, which is over here. Push it into position and then click it into place. It's good to have these magnetic it's good to have these magnetic pickup tools so you can pick up drop sockets. Okay, so now we got to put the air box back on. I gave Carl my old K&N air filter for improved performance and sound. Now we need to fill up the coolant. We've got BMW coolant here and distilled water. You want to make a 50-50 mix, or you want to put 50% water and 50% coolant. So I'm going to start off with some coolant and then just add distilled water. And it doesn't have to be perfectly 50-50, but you want to get it close. What you need to do is put the blue coolant in. Now we're going to put some distilled water. Don't use any other water. You want to use distilled. And you want to do it until this red piece or the indicator comes up to the right height. So push it down and wait for it to pop up. Okay, so that's the right height. When you see this sticking out a little, because there's two little balls here. These two balls, you want those to be in between where the neck of the reservoir is. There's a freaking dragonfly or something here that's flying in my face. Okay, so this is on. Now we're going to close it. And then basically, all you do is you just turn the engine on, drive it around for a couple minutes. Make sure that you check the oil level the next day. Check the coolant level the next day, and do this every couple, maybe a couple times. You'll notice that the coolant temp is going to fluctuate. Sometimes it'll go down a little low, and sometimes it'll be steady. So check it every day for about a week, because it needs to burp out all the air in the system or bleed out all the bubbles in the system. So over time, it'll stop the levels will stop fluctuating. So Carl's gonna check it every morning when the car's cold, check the levels and just top up as necessary until it levels out. And hopefully there's no more leaks. So that's how you change the thermostat and the O-rings in the BMW E90 M3 platform with the V8 engine. Hopefully you guys can do this easily as well on your own and save some money. Thank you so much for watching the whole video, and if you like this kind of content, please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Have a good evening.